Today's Mac Voices is supported by RemoteHQ. Collaborate as if you were in the same room. Visit remotehq.co/MacVoices for a free trial and 3 months free with the code MacVoices. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is part 2 of MacVoices Holiday Gift Guide number 7. I can tell you that the first round was interesting and inexpensive in places, and the second round gets even just a little crazier, but maybe not quite as expensive. So we're going to start right in with round 3. All right, gentlemen, that's 2 rounds. So that means now you have to start really looking at your lists and figuring out what you're going to do, because we only have 2 rounds left. So to take us to round 3, Mr. Andrew Orr.
Okay. So this next gift category is something we've actually been recently talked about at the Mac Observer, because, today is December 16th. It's pretty close to the holidays. If you may buy something online and it may not get there in time at this point. And so we wanted to come up with other gift ideas. And so I came up with this app, and this is something that I use, and it's great for people who have an iPhone and iPad and are running iOS 14. It is called Widgetsmith. And this is for the people who want to explore the widgets that Apple has added with iOS 14 and combined with, shortcut home screen icons where you can fully, customize your home screen with the aesthetic, all the, the trending pictures that have been online on social media. And so I have this on my phone right now. There are a bunch of different kinds of categories of widgets that they have. So there is weather, there's calendar, world time, reminders, health, and astronomy one if you want to look at the moon phases at your current time. There's even one for tides. So if you're feeding or doing other things with the water, you want to check out this tides widget. And then finally, there's one for photos. So if you want to have a cool photo from your library on your home screen. And each widget category is totally customizable. There are a bunch of different built-in themes that you can have. You can also change them and make a completely custom widget to change, the text type font, typeface, the background color. Maybe you want to have a design in the widget or even an outline for it. And there, because it's iOS 14, there are 3 different widget sizes: small, medium, and large. So you can, like I said, there are so many different ways to customize your home screens. And it is free with the basic features. There is an optional subscription. I think it's $2 a month. And that gives you access to the special APIs that this developer uses and, the server time that he has to have. So, I always like to support these small indie developers. So if you truly love Widgetsmith and you're using these widgets constantly, then maybe consider, buying the subscription, because he's going to be adding more features over time.
Andrew, I've read a bit about this, but I have not had a chance to play with it. One of the things I'm curious about, Widgetsmith makes it sound like you're creating widgets, okay, which I think is obviously the case. The question I had is, with the subscription thing, is that required to keep your widget that you've created going? Or is it something that I could buy it for, say a couple months, develop the widgets that I want, and then put the subscription down for a little while? Do you know?
I think it depends on the type of widget. So for example, if you want to have a widget, like if you want to display your health information in a widget, because Apple doesn't have a widget for their own health app, I think that is a paid one. And so if you create that during the subscription and then you later cancel it, that may not be available over time, afterwards, but you'll still have the basic ones. And there really aren't a lot of paid ones. Like you do get a whole lot for free.
Okay, just more curious because I've noticed that a number of places, at least services I've been looking at, are giving you that option that you can subscribe if you need the app or the service for a couple months, and then let's say, well, back when we were all doing special events, if you needed their service for an event, that you could subscribe for those couple months and then drop it, and then come wait for the next time you did the event, which is not great for their revenue stream, but it certainly made it more palatable, because if I needed a particular app or service for one event for the year, but I have to pay for it for a 12-month subscription, I'm probably either going to do without or go find an alternative. But the idea that I could subscribe for as long as I needed to really was a deal maker. So that's why I was curious about this. Interesting. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Bart, round 3.
Okay, so we're getting into the more upbeat pandemic topics. So one of the side effects of being confined to home and shopping turning from something I did for fun into an ordeal, I am doing an awful lot more cooking, and I'm having to be a lot more creative with said cooking, because really I'm eating whatever's in the house and I better find a way to make it work. So an app that I liked a lot for a long time, but I've really come into its own this year, is Paprika, which is a recipe app that's cross-platform. So iPhone, iPad, Mac, Android, Windows, it's completely cross-platform. And I religiously capture all of my cooking experiences and star rate them. And I keyword them quite carefully as well. And so I can tell you that right now there are 425 recipes, all of which I have created myself and entered in myself in that app. And if you say something like, Bart, there's artichokes that need to be eaten. So if I take artichoke in as a search, I can tell you I have 2 artichoke recipes. We can have balsamic roasted artichoke or lemon and thyme roasted artichoke. Both quite nice, actually. And so I have keywords based on cooking equipment. So if you run the oven at 200 Celsius, well, then everything you make that day needs 200 Celsius. So I have a tag oven-200C. And so I can filter by that tag and say that, okay, well, the only thing I can do with carrots then is, say, honey roasted carrots, because that goes in at the same temperature. And I also have, I have one air fryer, so I have to be very careful that I don't have 2 things that need the air fryer. And so by tagging everything carefully, it really does make it possible to figure out how to turn whatever ingredients you have into food, and not just food, but nice food. And, whenever someone says, oh, how did you do that? Which doesn't happen this year, because I used to enjoy having people over for dinner. Can you imagine that? Having people in your house, strangers. But it's really easy to share, because the sharing feature is great. It will share it out to email as a really nicely formatted recipe, and it will attach itself as a .paprika file. So if you convert any of your friends to Paprika, they not only get a pretty email, they can actually import it into their app, and then they can tweak it to their heart's content as well. And it does things like scaling and so forth intelligently. So if you enter it in, you tell it basically so many grams of this, so many grams of that, and that's 4 servings, then you can scale it to 3 servings or 2 servings or 1 serving or whatever, and it does all the math for you. And it can convert from metric to imperial. So if you don't like 200 Celsius, it could be 400 Fahrenheit. It can take care of all of that. So it's been an supremely valuable app to me. And as I say, it's completely cross-platform. So I tend to run it on my iPad in the kitchen when I'm doing the actual cooking, because it's really easy just to tap off the ingredients as you go. But I tend to plan my meals at my Mac. So you plan them at your Mac, you pin the ones you're cooking that day, your pins will sync across, and when you come down to the kitchen and turn on your iPad, everything you have pinned is waiting for you, and you just get stuck in. And as I say, as you're going, you tap off every ingredient as you go, and so you can see how you're doing on your list. So it's really good recipe app. So Paprika.
I got to say, I love Paprika. I've actually been using it for a couple years, I think. And for me, I think like it can do so many different things, but I think the main thing that I like, and this is a complaint that I've seen in some online cooking communities, like on Reddit that I've joined, a lot of people complain about all these different food blogs and recipe blogs that where the author like tells their entire life story before the recipe, which is understandable. Like they're doing that for SEO, but you just most of the time just want to get down to the recipe. And so with Paprika, you like on iOS or iPadOS, and I don't know if this works on the Mac too, but if you go into the share sheet and you share that website to the Paprika app, it will automatically pull just the recipe from there, automatically format it. It will pull up a window and you choose like the category, like if it's lunch or dinner and a snack, and then you save it and it pulls photos in there and it gets all the, different measurements in there, and it's so great.
Yeah, I tend to, my approach to recipe making is I tend to average recipes. So if I want to figure out how do I roast a kumquat or whatever, no, you wouldn't roast a kumquat, an aubergine. I will find about 5 recipes, and what you'll soon discover is that they have lots of things in common. And so I'll tend to make my own recipe by picking the bits I like from all of them. So maybe say 4 out of 5 say to use coriander. It's like, okay, well, I guess coriander is a good idea. And, one of them says something out of the blue like, oh, try lime instead of lemon. It's like, well, hey, I like lime. Let's give it a go. And so I tend to end up with average recipes that I make rather than what you're describing, which is pull one of the recipes in. But the fact that it can do that is actually very powerful because, not only is it half your life story, it's half the ads on planet Earth, usually in annoying popovers and autoplay videos. So it's an amazing app, and it's now on version, it's version 5 or something like. And every time they do a version, it gets better and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
Will you be publishing your cookbook soon, Bart?
I'm actually toying with another podcast. I'm teetering on the edge of doing a cooking podcast for nerds. Teetering.
I would love that.
Yeah. Okay, keep us informed.
If it happens, I'll certainly be pimping it everywhere.
Yeah, you've got 2 subscribers right here, Andrew and I.
There we go.
So
Well, maybe he should reach out to Josh Wrench, because remember, Josh had that talk on Too Many Macs in the Kitchen, bringing technology into the kitchen. He spent a lot of time talking about Paprika. This was it's still December 2020. I can honestly say last year. This was at MacStock. This was at MacStock 2019. He had that great talk. It was very eye-opening. I haven't done anything with that eye-opening experience yet, but it was really interesting to see how he utilizes all this technology in the kitchen, namely Paprika, to organize their list, know what they can cook based on the ingredients they have. It was really an interesting 20-minute talk followed by his deeper dive. Was very cool.
Yeah.
He'd be a good co-host for you, Bart.
If someone finds me a 25-hour day, then it's done. I really want to do it, but I realistically don't know if I have the time. So maybe I need to kill something else. But then what do I kill?
We'd probably have to ask Josh if he has the time too before we volunteer him, huh?
Fair point. Yeah.
You were volunteering him pretty quick there, Mike.
Yeah, well, I'm good at that stuff.
Okay, round 3, Mike. What do you got?
Well, this is apparently the app round. Although what I'm going to suggest is nowhere near as complex or involved as either Andrew or Bart suggested. I used to do a show every year on my podcast called Essential Apps. These were the apps that we used on our Macs religiously every day. We'd fire these apps up, and my friend Brian would come on and he'd talk about certain apps, and I'd tease him that he was presenting these one-trick pony apps. I don't want one-trick pony apps. This stuff is on the Mac already. Why do I need this app to do this when it's already on the Mac? Well, I just bought a one-trick pony app that I really love. Absolutely love this app. And the reason I purchased it is, as many of you are aware, Dashboard is gone on the Mac now. Dashboard's gone. I love Dashboard. Dashboard was one of my absolute favorite features. I'm so used to hitting F12, going to the calculator, typing in my calculations, and getting out of it again. It's so quick. It's so much quicker than launching an app, for goodness sakes, that I missed it terribly. And even when Apple moved the calculator to the widget notification / whatever center on the side of the screen that I never used, I didn't like that calculator because it didn't retain the values. When you would do a calculation and you'd swipe it away and you'd go back, it was 0 again. That was super annoying. Which is
extremely annoying because I very often want to go back and see, what was it again?
What was it again?
3076 or yeah.
Exactly. And then worse, they got rid of the calculator widget in Big Sur. There is no more calculator widget. It's just absolutely gone. So you can use the calculator app, but then you're going to launch it and all that kind of stuff. So I set out to find a new calculator for my Mac. After all these years, I set out to find a new calculator, and I found one. It wasn't a very difficult search. This app has been around for 28 years now, and it's called pCalc. You all may have it already, but it's a wonderful, wonderful little app. And the brand new version, this was the clincher for me. The brand new version that came out November 11th now has a menu bar app. It sits there in your menu bar. They never had that before. And that was one of the things. I want an app that's accessible right now. And there's a little menu bar pCalc app sitting up there, and you can assign your own keystroke to it. So naturally, I signed it F12, which was the keystroke I always used for launching Dashboard. So now I can get to my calculations, do them, F12, it's gone. And if you want the full app, if you want to fire it all up, you just hit Command O and it opens up the full app, and you can do all the other amazing things that pCalc does that Apple's calculator can't even hold a candle to, like conversions. That was the other widget I used all the time on Dashboard, was currency, length, temperature, all these different types of conversions. Gone, all gone. pCalc has them. Little weird to use. You have to get used to how to use the conversions on pCalc. You have to have that number in the calculator before you go into the conversion section. But once you get used to that, it converts far more than Apple's widget ever did. And as I wrote all this down because I knew I was going to forget something, as with typical calculators app, it does hexadecimal, octal, binary. It has a simulated paper tape like Apple's does. But then it has something that I just learned about today. I only bought this in November, by the way. I just learned about this today, that when you are working with conversions, it'll quick search them. I was going down the list. I was scanning through the list trying to find the conversions I wanted. Well, if you just type in a conversion from, let's say I want to do an ounces conversion, I just type in OZ, goes right to it. Now conversions are a lot easier in pCalc than they were before. And it has full AppleScript support too, which is awesome. Then it has things like theming and all this other kind of stuff. But if you want an easy to use, fully functional, super functional, I should say, calculator with plus features like conversions, I don't think you can go wrong with pCalc. And it sounds like Bart already has it. I don't know if Andrew has it, but this is a nice inexpensive buy for both of you. It's $9.99. $9.99 on the App Store. If you're looking for someone who's wants to get a new calculator, I can't recommend this one highly enough. And they have one for iOS and iPad OS as well, which we all know the iPad is missing a calculator. So if you need one, another $10, $20 all in, you've got something that syncs handoff. It uses handoff from Mac to iOS and iOS to Mac. I don't think you can go wrong with this. Like I said, 28-year-old.
Double down on your pick because I adore pCalc and have had it for many years now. And the reason I bought it was because what I needed was a calculator that would just float on top. I just wanted it to float there. So while I'm working on my accounts, I do my thing. It has the tape and everything, and it just bloody well stays there. Like a real calculator on a desk. It just sits there. And it does that. And I've just checked. It has a today widget that doesn't forget itself. I did a calculation 3 or 4 minutes ago, and it still knows that 8 plus 6 is 14. It still knows it now.
I love it. I love it. And, for an app that's 28 years old, It
Amazing.
does not show its age. It was just updated for Big Sur. It was just updated for the new M1 Max. It's got that new menu bar widget. This is what I love to see, is an independently developed app that's well maintained and well thought out, and that's what pCalc is. Now, if you're giving it as a gift, because it's on the App Store, you're going to really need to get an Apple gift card that someone can use in the App Store. That's right. You can gift them. That's right. You can gift them now. I'm so used to not being able to do that. Yeah, you can gift them now, can't you?
I do it quite regularly. Random friends of mine just get an app thrown at them. It's like, I think you'd like this.
So you don't have to worry that they're going to spend that gift card on something else. Or you could get them a gift card and, let them spend it on some in-app purchases or something.
I have friends who refuse to spoil themselves, so I will spoil them. I will proactively. It's like, you don't want to spend it on this frivolous app. I know you like this frivolous app. Here you go.
I completely forgot you can gift apps. I'm glad you mentioned that. It makes a great gift for someone who doesn't have it.
Nice pick. I have it, I think, on the iPhone, but I don't believe I have it anywhere else. So I have to look into that.
You definitely do, Chuck. And for the iPad, especially, since Apple don't give you one.
Yeah.
Their scientific calculator on the iPad is quite the experience.
So I'm debating as to whether I should break the trend of apps and leverage something that Bart said, or whether I should save that for later. Okay, so I'll keep the app thing going.
App pick.
Yeah. You all are probably familiar with the Launchpad of Mac OS, and to say that it seems to be lacking puts it mildly.
That's that icon that when you buy a new Mac, you drag it out of the dock, you wait for it to say delete, and you let go of, isn't it?
First thing I do.
Well, let's not slam it that much, but it just, when you think about the number of strokes and clicks on your trackpad or your mouse to launch an app, it's not the best implementation. And so if you're using a Mac, there are a lot of great launchers out there. I really highly recommend LaunchBar, because I can type the. In fact, my I don't even know what is it. It's command space. My fingers know it. I don't know it anymore. I had to look. But do that. You assign it. It's the same thing that the OS uses, but you assign it to LaunchBar, and then you type the first couple letters of whatever it is that you want to launch. It can be an application. It could be a document that you have specifically named that way. It can be pretty much anything you want to launch, and LaunchBar will find it and launch it for you. It is smart. It learns that if I put in something, if I start typing certain key combinations, it will look at the ones I've launched previously and bring those right up to the top, so that it knows what it is that I want to launch most often. It does include some calculator functions. If you want to do that, you can do that. But the other big feature for me, and if this is a class of software I think everybody should have, and that is a Clipboard Manager. LaunchBar will, I think it's the last 50 things that you have put on the clipboard, it saves them. And again, it's a simple, two touch, or here we go again. Command space and then K brings up the Clipboard Manager, and I can look at the last 50 things that I have put on the clipboard. And it is, I can't begin to tell you how much that aids in productivity, because we all repeat things, or if maybe there are 3 things in a row that you want, that you're on a web page, let's say, and you copy 3 things to the clipboard and then go somewhere else, and you use that Clipboard Manager and you just paste them right back in, because you don't necessarily have to paste the last thing that went in the way you do with the clipboard. You can reach down into any of those 50 and say, that's the one I want to paste here, and it does it. So it's this combination thing. Those 2 features right there. It can go a lot deeper, and frankly, I've never gone a lot deeper because I really haven't had the need. Those 2 things right there make it a killer app for me. So, Mike, it's not quite a one-trick pony. It's a 2-trick pony, but those two tricks are super invaluable. So I highly, highly recommend LaunchBar. Anybody else have favorite launchers?
I'm very old-fashioned. I just use the built-in command space in the Mac because
I
it
use
does
Spotlight, yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
much
me too.
like it does the math. It looks up the dictionary when I can't spell properly. Launches my apps, launches my documents. I actually find it pretty powerful, and because it's on every Mac. Although I kind of like the idea of assigning the really fancy version the same key combination, so at least if you're on a normal Mac, you're not lost. Because I use command space so much. If it was gone, I'm not sure I'd know how to use my computer. I have no idea where my apps actually are. They're command space. It's where everything is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's it. It's if people that have those apps that they use often enough with keystrokes that my fingers know it now. I don't think about it. I don't have to think, let's see, command space. It's just command space, bum, and there it is. So yeah, it's a funny experience, but. So yeah, LaunchBar, go check it out. If I remember correctly, the last time I checked, there was a free demo, and it's an outright purchase. There's no subscription. You buy it or you don't. And the only thing that you have to be aware of that when the first time you launch it, it has to do a scan of your computer, obviously, so it knows what's there, so it can then respond to your queries. But other than that, just launch it and go for lunch, or let it work overnight. It doesn't take that long, and it's been one of those apps that's been bulletproof for me. I've never had a problem that I've been able to trace back to LaunchBar, and that too is something that you can't say about a lot of apps. So today's Mac Voices is supported by RemoteHQ. Collaborate as if you were in the same room. Visit remotehq.co/MacVoices for a free trial and 3 months free with the code MacVoices. RemoteHQ is the collaborative platform that I want you to try out. My office is working on one of those other collaborative platforms, and I really wish they were using RemoteHQ. Why? First is the ease of learning and ease of use. Things just make sense. In the world of collaboration, that's essential, because if it isn't easy, users are going to skip over it and go back to the old technologies, like email. Second is the flexibility. You can create as many rooms as you need based on teams, projects, whatever reason you need a room for. RemoteHQ lets you make it. You can have a war room, a marketing room, whatever you need. And in each of those rooms, you can bring the tools you're already using. Google Docs, Trello boards, a shared browser. Again, whatever you need is right there for you. And each room has a searchable digital audit trail. So what was worked on is automatically captured, including the artifacts of the room, like charts and graphs. No more wondering what happened to those flip charts that had your next great idea sketched out on them. Those are just a few of the things that RemoteHQ brings to the collaboration space party. Find out about all of them when you visit remotehq.co/MacVoices to sign up for a free trial. Then, when you're ready to bring your team on board, use the code MacVoices for 3 months free. That's remotehq.co/MacVoices for a free trial and 3 months free with the code MacVoices. Do it now and up your collaboration game for the new year. Thanks to RemoteHQ for their support of MacVoices. That wraps up round 3. So now we come down to it. Mike said he had a whole list of picks. He's got to decide what he's going to pick. Bart said he burned out his
my spare is gone,
pick.
So
yeah.
But we're good now because I'm pretty darn sure the next one I pick is so off the wall. I'm going to be first.
So Andrew, I don't know where you stand with how many things are on your list, but take us into round 4.
Okay, so this one is actually still in the software category, except instead of an app, it's a video game. And this is another one that I bought for myself. This game came out earlier this year, and it's called Immortals Phoenix Rising. Phoenix is spelled weird. It's F-E-N-Y-X. And I just think it's a really cool game. So I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now. It says it's for Amazon's Luna streaming game service. It's on Windows, Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, Google Stadia, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. So it's very accessible for everyone, I think, no matter what platform you have. It is a kind of an action adventure hack and slash game. and it's based on Greek mythology, so it kind of has this neat historical aspect to it. So your character Phoenix, you're tasked with saving the Greek gods against the big bad villain. His name is Typhon, and of course these are all real characters in Greek mythology. Typhon was like, I don't remember, some monster that was battling against the gods. So there's, Zeus, there's Athena, Hephaestus, Ares, a whole bunch of different familiar, Aphrodite, a bunch of names that if you're into Greek mythology, you might be familiar with. And it's a really fun game. It's an open world game, which is nice. A lot of people I've seen, all the reviews I've read about it are very positive. Everyone is comparing it to games like Breath of the Wild, which I've never played, but people have said good things about that one too. And so you're just kind of roaming around at your own leisure, fighting all these monsters and solving a whole bunch of puzzles, and you get rewards like new armor and weapons, and you can. It's your classic adventure game RPG where you upgrade all your armor and weapons and gear and all that sort of thing. So if you have a gamer in your life, I recommend this one.
Andrew, I'm not a gamer, but I have to tell you, and you may not know this, based on your spelling, I think this is a game that they just seem to advertise incessantly on Amazon Prime.
Oh, so, really?
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Again, because I kind of noticed it the other night and spelled it out in my head, and it's like, oh, that's what they're trying to say. And so I think if that's the one, and it looks interesting, from a non-gamer standpoint. So it got my attention. Let's put it this way: it got my attention enough for me to remember that, to make that comment to you.
Yeah.
So
that's always good. Third marketing.
Yeah, but it's not that often you see a video game advertised, on something that is a little more mainstream. I mean, that's still a streaming service, but so good. Mm-hmm. Okay, we got another gaming pick in for the year. Good. Bart, last one.
Okay, so last year I ended on a coffee-related pick because I think it's important for a nerd to be well caffeinated. Well, this year I've branched out a little, and I have. So last year I was experimenting with grinding my own coffee and making nice coffee from scratch without too much waste. But this year I've branched out into loose leaf tea, and therefore I am now the very happy owner of a tea infuser by a company called Bodum, and they make the most amazing glassware you will ever come across. So the tea infuser is amazing. So you just pop the loose leaf tea into the doodad in the middle, shove it in, pour in your water, let it sit for 5 minutes, and then, hey presto, you have nice loose leaf tea. You just wash it all out afterwards, and you're ready to go as often as you like. And as I say, Bodum are the company, and they do all different shapes and sizes of tea infusers. But while you're shopping on Bodum stuff, and you can get it on Amazon, they also do the most amazing insulated glass cups and things. So I don't know if you can see, but they're double rimmed, and they have a special dishwasher-proof valve at the bottom so that the air can expand and contract. And so they keep your tea really warm for ages. And so you have like a tea-size one for a civilized person, or you have the one I actually use, which is for a greedier person. But again, it's the same insulated. They're just absolutely amazing. And because they're glass, they impart no flavor. So whether you use them, so I tend to have espresso, double or triple espresso in the teacup. And what should be like a latte glass is my teacup. But as I say, Bodum, Bodum is the company. I have never bought anything from them I have not absolutely fallen in love with. So whether it's tea or coffee, if it's glassware you want, Bodum is the company, and you will find them on Amazon.
Very unusual. I remember your coffee pick from last year, and this is a little more my speed, but still, I like the idea, because sometimes that I find, I don't know about you, but I find that it just becomes too much trouble, and so it's like, I'll just go ahead and drink something else. But yeah.
Yeah, and at the moment, so there's amazing loose leaf tea that comes out every year about this time in one of our local supermarkets. So it's like an orange and cinnamon spiced Christmas tea. It is amazing, but it's loose leaf tea. And every other year I would buy a tin of it and have these great intentions. I'll definitely use that. And I'd take out my little sieve and, but now that I have this yolk, it's just a few teaspoons into the middle bit, pour in the water and you're done. I mean, and when you're finished, you just, over the bin, shake, give it a rinse and you're good to go again. So I'm drinking so much more really nice tea thanks to this, and I think it was like €20 or something. So, it's really, really paid for itself. And as I say, with the spiced Christmas tea, it's quite the treat.
Very nice. Very nice. Yep. That we haven't had anybody do anything tea related, I think, this year. So good job.
There you go.
So Mike, round 4, which one of your items are you going to pick?
Yeah.
Round 4. Well, first, I'm going to take just a minute for 2 bonus picks, playing off of everything we've just discussed here. Because, Bart, I just purchased for myself a double-walled insulated beer glass from a company called Dragon Glassware. And the inner layer of glass looks like an upside-down beer bottle inside inside the glass. So I just purchased that.
That sounds like so much fun.
It was, but they also make Dragon Glassware also had the tea glasses and other glasses, just like you mentioned, and they have that little valve in the bottom to keep it,
dishwasher safe
from dishwasher safe and everything. So that's my quick bonus pick. I purchased that on Amazon for myself. I buy myself a lot of gifts, apparently. And then to play off of your pick, Chuck, for folks like Bart and I who use Spotlight as our app launcher, I have a clipboard manager that I've been using forever. I think it's been around for ages, well over 10 years. It's been around. And it's called Jump Cut. And it's open source. It's on GitHub. The guy's webpage is on GitHub. It's been around forever. It's called Jump Cut. Recently updated. In fact, it was just updated in October after several years of inactivity on the app, to the point where it wasn't usable on the newer versions of Mac OS. He finally updated it a year or so ago so that it would be usable, 64-bit on the latest Mac operating systems. But during that time, I was seeking out another one. So as a pair, a matching pair to that, in the App Store is a fork of Jump Cut called FlyCut. So FlyCut and Jump Cut are 2 great clipboard managers. I currently have mine set to remember, I just pulled it up to check, 80 entries. And when I click on the icon in the menu bar, because I didn't set up a hotkey for it, it displays 20. So just like you were saying, Chuck, for something like the Zoom call, I copied both the Zoom ID and the password. And then I could fire up Zoom and I could just go to Jump Cut and paste in what I needed to do that. So those are my 2 bonus picks, and it took longer than a minute. I apologize for that. But now I'm going to get to my actual pick. This is a classic. This is a Mike Potter classic pick. Every year on our Holiday Picks episode of For Mac OS Only, this would be the final pick I gave every year. But as is the trend these days, with Apple One and Disney Plus and all these things, we got to plus it up. We got to make this a plus edition of Mike's final pick. Now, my final pick has always been give the gift of yourself. This is my altruistic pick. Give the gift of yourself. But I'm going to call it Give the Gift of Yourself Plus this year. Now, we all know somebody who's new to the Mac, new to the iPhone. Maybe they just got their first Apple Watch. Chances are pretty good it's somebody that we've convinced to purchase this hardware, right? So we have a certain amount of responsibility to assure that they enjoy this hardware once we've suggested it to them, especially if it's something brand new to them. And when we think about how in-depth those manuals are that Apple includes with all this fancy new hardware that they sell. So when they unwrap this shiny slab of aluminum and glass, during the holidays, I thought, whether it's something new for their wrist or their pocket, or maybe it's something new on their desk, if you give the gift of yourself and help them through those initial setup stages of using it, help them through some useful apps that they might want to put on their Mac, something other than the stock apps that come with it. Kind of think of it as your own one-to-one personal session with this person, whether they be a family member or a friend or a relative. Just spend some time with them. You could even spend that time with them virtually if they're not in your immediate family, and just kind of show them the ropes. Show them some of your favorite tips and tricks on that device. But on top of that, you could see what it is they most want help with. What is it that they are hoping to accomplish with this new piece of hardware that they just got? A lot of times there's a task in their mind, whether it's video editing or better photo management or whatever it is. There's something that they're hoping to be able to do. And if you know what that is, you can sit down with them and you can help them through those initial steps, especially if they're coming from Windows, where a lot of the stuff that we're used to having on our Macs just doesn't exist, or if it does exist, it doesn't exist in a good way. Windows Movie Maker. So some of the ideas that I came up with are helping them organize or migrate their photo library. Just today, I spoke with someone who is migrating from iPhoto to Photos for the first time. So that's a big change. When you're used to how iPhoto works and now you're going to Photos, that's a different world. And if, like in her case, she did have a Photos library and now she has her iPhoto library and she needs to merge those two, there's a little bit of a learning curve. And how do you do that? How do you get these images from one to the other? Sometimes it's special software, sometimes it's manually, but this is something that has left her in a bit of a lurch. So I have scheduled some time with her tomorrow to help her work through this process of migrating her iPhoto library. Providing tips on maintaining their Mac. A lot of the Mac OS is kind of self-maintaining, right? But there's still stuff that people need to know how to do, or the settings the ideal settings for keeping their Mac up to date. Maybe you don't want it to automatically update to Big Sur when it's released, and you want to stay on, Catalina for a little bit longer, just in case Mac OS 11 isn't quite right for their Mac yet. Things like that. So there's little things that you can do to help them maintain their Mac better. And then if they're coming from Windows, one of the things that came to mind is one-on-one training for installing apps, which we know is a very different process when you're moving from the Windows world.
Most people, when they come from Windows, they don't believe you. What do you mean I just drag it from here
you
to
just
there?
drag it.
Done? That can't be right. It has to be more than that. It's like, no, it doesn't.
And then don't get me started on package files, right? Is it a DMG? Is it a package file? Is it a drag and drop? Is it, so there's all these different kinds of ways that you might install an app, but it's still way different than Windows. Converting files, if they're coming from the Windows world, there might be some Microsoft Publisher files that they need to convert. How do you get that over to something that they can use on the Mac? And even, this just came up the other day too, so I wrote it down here, ripping CDs. How do you do that? How do you do that on an M1 MacBook Pro, especially an M1 MacBook Pro running Big Sur? It can be done, but
Step one, buy CD drive.
There you go. But it takes a little guidance. There's things that they might not be used to. People hang on to their computers for a long time, and when you jump from a 5-year-old Windows PC to a brand new Intel or M1 Mac, it's a different world, and it can be a confusing world. And often it just takes a little hand-holding, a little guidance to feel comfortable and to learn how they can take that initiative themselves and not worry that they're going to bring the whole thing crashing down, right? We know they're probably not going to bring it crashing down, but they just spent $1,500 on this new computer and they don't want it to come crashing down.
Actually, speaking of crashing down, probably one of the most useful tips is get them set up on Time Machine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love Time Machine, and it's the first thing I recommend to new Mac users. There's no other backup program that's as easy to use and as useful when your Mac does crash or you want to migrate to a new Mac. It's absolutely the best way to go.
Yeah. And I
Apple-
guess another one you could throw in is onboarding people with a password manager, because
Oh, yes.
the value of becoming comfortable with 1Password or LastPass is immense. But people are very rightfully afraid, because if I lock my passwords into this thing and I then mess up, I've now locked myself out of everything.
Right.
It's become the opposite of 1Password. It's become 0 passwords.
And let's be honest, as useful as 1Password is, when you understand how it works, there's a lot of folks who think when you install 1Password, it just takes care of everything magically. It's it's an entirely automagic process. You never have to create, you never have to know what's happening. It just all happens without any it doesn't. You have to know how to integrate it into your browser, what it does for you, what it doesn't do for you. But then once they get the hang of that, it's like, well, gosh, where was this? Where did this program, even though it exists for Windows, where was this my entire life?
And it's a lot more than just your passwords, right? Because then you start to put in your passport details, your credit card details, details of insurance policy, so that if you get caught out, you have it on your phone. One-time password support, which is amazing that it has that. But I mean, you can take people from this is useful to, oh my God, this is amazing. But you just need to give them a little bit of help. And so your time is such a great gift.
Yeah. So I wanted to plus it. So let's go back to my friend that I'm helping with iPhoto to Photos. One of the things I told her just today is once we get her set up on Photos, one of the first things she should do is go over to Take Control Books and pick up Jason Snell's Guide to Photos. Just pick it up. It's $14.99. Now, if this is your gift to them, buy a copy for them. It's an ebook. You buy it, gift it to them, or get them a let's see, does Take Control do gift certificates? I don't know if they do gift certificates on Take Control Books, but it's a great site. Lots of great manuals, and they have books on almost every topic you can imagine, from Apple Mail to Zoom. I picked up one on what was it? What's the I don't use it anymore. What is the business social network everybody was raving about?
Slack.
Slack. I picked one up on Slack. I started to play with it and I never ended up using it. I picked up a Take Control guide to Slack, and it was a great manual for just kind of getting a better understanding for what the service is and how to use it and all that kind of stuff. So I pointed her straight to Take Control Books and said, pick up the Guide to Photos. But if they're a visual learner, there's other resources out there too. And the first one that came to mind for me was Screencast Online. If you pick up a 1-year subscription to that, I think it's right around $72, something like that, for a year. And not only do you get all the new videos that are coming out, and they cover a ton of stuff on that site. Not only do you get the new videos, but you get access to all the old videos too. So there's lots of great learning material on Screencast Online as well. So there's all kinds of wonderful resources out there that you can give as a gift along with your gift of time. And I just think that makes a fantastic present for someone when they're brand new to this platform, brand new to hardware, even if they've been using a Mac and an iPhone, brand new to something like this, which, you have to learn how to use this. Once you understand how to use it, I picked up some great tips on mine from Dave Ginsburg. He was showing me something and I said, what the heck? How did you do that? He's like, oh, you just did. I'm like, I've had it for a year. I never knew how to do that. So you're always picking up new stuff. And I think there's just not enough one-to-one learning out there like there should be.
Agreed. Great pick, Mike. Great pick.
That's my last pick.
Okay, well, good. I think
Chuck,
you finished on a high note.
Can I, if you're in the mood, since there were bonus picks on, I have a bonus pick if you'd like to come to me at the end. I'll promise to be quick.
Sure. So I'm going to take a slight inspiration from Bart, because I wasn't going to do this. This was sort of at the bottom of my list, but I'm going to elevate it. Um, I don't know if about you, but one thing I enjoy is honey. Okay, Bart, you sound like you're a bit of a coffee snob. I'm kind of a honey snob. Because people, I know so many people think, well, honey's honey, and you want honey in your honey in this, honey in that. No. And so I would encourage you to go and check out different kind of honeys here. Where in my area, some of the things that are kind of common might be clover honey, buckwheat honey, orange honey. But my dad was from Georgia, and he taught me at a young age 2 honeys from the South of the U.S. that I just dearly love. And these are my 2 favorite honeys, period. One is tubalo honey, and the other one is called gallberry honey. And they're from 2 very different bushes. They have very different, very distinct flavors. I know some people that don't care for the gallberry. Tubalo is a little milder, I think. But they are, and by the way, they are not necessarily inexpensive to get because they are produced in small batches and they're very specialized. So it's not like, at least certainly not here in the northern part of the U.S., are you going to find them at like a farmer's market. Can't say that I've ever really looked at in a Florida or Georgia farmer's market, but you can get them on Amazon. And every time I've ordered, no matter what brand I've gotten, the tastes are absolutely correct. There's no doubt that I've gotten tubalo or gallberry. So I would strongly encourage you to go and check out these honeys. I think you will thoroughly enjoy them. And maybe they'll open you up to a whole new world of flavored honeys, not artificially flavored, but what comes in from the particular flower that the bees make the honey from.
The last thing, just before the pandemic hit, I discovered a stall at a nearby farmer's market with a lady from County Wicklow who keeps bees, and she had like little tasting samples of all her different honeys. And it was the most amazing thing. She had the most bizarre one was ivy honey. And ivy flowers are teeny, tiny little things. And the honey is the least honey-like color, and the texture is actually very crystalline. But it tasted absolutely amazing. And myself and the better half spent about 20 minutes talking to her about her bees and tasting all her different honeys. And we thought this was the most amazing discovery ever. We're like, we got to come here every month for a new jar of honey. And then the pandemic happened. So we really enjoyed our jar of ivy honey and hawthorn honey, and we so want more. So hurry up, vaccine. Come on, do your thing. I want honey.
I've never heard of ivy honey. That's really interesting, Bart.
I hadn't either. I'd never come across it anywhere. And she said, oh, this is one of my more unusual ones. Would you like a taste?
Yeah, of course somebody's going to say, well, what's it taste like? Well, okay, they're sweet, but how do you tell what anything, how do you explain what something tastes like? Maybe fruity, maybe floral, but you can't do it. You got to go and try them.
Orange Blossom is a good starter honey because it genuinely tastes of what it says it tastes like. What does Orange Blossom taste like? Oranges.
Yeah.
And it, like, you open the jar and the smell before you even taste it, the smell of an orange blossom honey is just so uplifting because it's that citrusy brightness.
Yeah.
I'm completely on your team, Chuck.
Good.
It's not honey, it's types of honey.
Yes. If you're going to the grocery store, I'm not sure how it is in Ireland, Bart, but if you're going to the grocery store and buying that little bear with the honey inside.
I was just going to say the bear with the honey.
No, don't. No.
Unless you're cooking, right? If you're going to take 2 tablespoons and you're going to cook the bejesus out of it, use the cheap honey.
Yeah.
But if you're going to spread it on something to enjoy, use a good honey.
How about the bear with the cinnamon sugar? Is that one okay?
That's in the next gift guide, Mike.
We
get into cinnamon sugar. So, Bart, I'm going back to you for your bonus.
Yeah, so this is somewhat self-promotional, and I think Allison is slightly channeling me here because I don't usually promote myself, but this is a tip that exists at the moment as an ebook, but we're working hard so that everyone on planet Earth can buy it in this wonderful form. This is a series myself and Allison did called Taming the Terminal, which is available for free online. So it's a podcast cum blog. So I write the episodes and then we record them together, and Allison plays the role of the everyman, asking me to repeat myself every time I say something that isn't blindingly obvious because I'm a nerd and I think it is obvious. And so it's really important that Allison is there to stop me. And an amazing lady from the Netherlands with Allison behind my back, because all of this is Creative Commons, they converted it to an ebook, put it up on GitHub, and so anyone can get the ebook for free. But myself and Allison, or actually, no, mainly Allison, are working on getting it printed. So this is a test run. It is spiral bound, and the idea being that it folds perfectly flat. Mm-hmm. It's nice thick pages, so it will stand up to abuse. And so at the moment, you can get it as an ebook, and we're hoping in the new year that everyone on planet Earth will be able to get Taming the Terminal in this nice format. So for now, the place to go is podfeet.com/TTT book, Taming the Terminal book. And you can download it in lots of different formats. And when we figure out how to make the book available, that will be there as well. So as I say, a little bit of self-promotion I don't usually do because I'm Irish and we're very ashamed of these kind of things. But this arrived just this week and it's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous.
Great. Thank you, Bart. I had no idea that it was being put into print form.
Neither did I, which is amazing because I wrote it. That's the power of the open source community. And they put so much work into it, because to take my HTML blog post and turn it into a good book is actually a lot of work. And they actually recorded an entire podcast about the entirely open source tool chain they used to turn an open source podcast into an open source book with open source. It's really cool.
That's very meta.
Very, very, very meta. And the whole thing is on GitHub. Everything is on GitHub. All the build scripts, everything. The original content, the build scripts, it's all on GitHub, so it's all free.
Cool. Good job. Good job. I want to make sure I let everyone know that all the gift guide picks here will be in the show notes for these episodes, but there's also a master gift guide pick page on the MacVoices website, and I'll have links in the show notes to that so you can go and check it all out. And if things go as I planned, by the time this gets released, there will also be a Flipboard version of the MacVoices gift guides. So we don't have the for those of us that maybe have a little more mileage than others, there were always those catalogs that came around to the holidays that you page through and, gee, I want this, I want that. We don't have those anymore. But the Flipboard is terrific, and especially when we populate it with gift guide picks, it just is just flip through there, and we can help you spend a lot of money real fast.
So if your wallet is feeling too heavy, Chuck has the answer.
Absolutely. Well, if your wallet's feeling too heavy, go and use Mike's pick and get a $3,000 poster, and that'll solve the whole problem. So let's go around the table, let folks know where they can find you when you're not here. And let's see. So the order has shifted, but I think Andrew was first, I believe. Andrew?
Yeah, so you can find me usually on Twitter. My username for most things is Andrew Orr Not. That is ORNOT at the end. You can find my writing at macobserver.com, where I cover everything Apple and a whole bunch of different other technology-related subjects. My kind of two beats over there are security and privacy. And so we have podcasts that we do. We have a podcast that we do every day. And Kelly and I do one every Friday called Security Friday. And so you can find me over there as well.
Great. Thanks for being here, Andrew. Really appreciate it. Have a happy holiday.
Yeah, happy holiday. Good to be here.
Mr. Bart Busschots, where can folks find you? As if you didn't already just tell them.
I kind of did, but yeah. So because no one can spell my surname, bartb.ie links to everything I do. In terms of my own podcast, I do 2 monthly podcasts because I just have too much on my plate. So Let's Talk Apple is a monthly show where we step back. So instead of looking at the fine detail, we step back once a month and we try to look at the forest instead of the trees and figure out what has changed in the world of Apple in the last month. And it can be very fun to look at the Apple world in that way compared to sort of like the inverse of a Mac OS Ken, where it's a day-to-day detail. We step back. And then there's a photography show, which is a monthly show of no fixed format. It will be about photography. It will focus on the art and craft of photography. It's not a gear show, and they're the only rules. Sometimes I have a guest, sometimes I have a panel, sometimes it's just me pontificating. There are no rules on Let's Talk Photography other than it's photography and it's the art and the craft. And then Allison has me on every 2 weeks for a segment called Security Bits, where we talk through the security news from a human-friendly point of view. I'm not allowed to give scary news unless I give a solution. Very, very important. I'm not allowed to scare the pants off you. I have to tell you, here's the problem, and here's what you do to protect yourself. And Andrew, you get linked so often in my show notes, it's not funny. You are one of my most regular
awesome.
links. So as soon as I saw the name, I was like, oh, great, I see your name all the time. But it's just, by Andrew Orr. So anyway. And then myself, I am teaching Allison to program. So Taming the Terminal was my first attempt at doing the impossible in an audio podcast. And now I've decided that since I can do the terminal in an audio podcast, why not programming? So when Allison retired, she said she wanted to learn to program, and I said I would teach her. We are now on episode 108 of a bi-weekly show teaching people to program. So we started off with HTML, we went on to CSS, JavaScript. We're now really deep into Git, and we're about to transition over to PHP. So it's called Programming by Stealth, because I sort of snuck programming up on her, starting with HTML, which is not really programming. And so that's all at podfeed.com. But anyway, bartb.ie has links to everything.
Great. Thanks so much, Bart, especially for staying up late. I know it is good. We have
I have 13 minutes left, Chuck, and then I'll be late.
Yeah, we have to wrap this up and make sure Bart gets in bed at the right time. So, hey, thanks so much. Have a terrific holiday and be safe.
You too, and definitely be safe.
Last but absolutely not least, Mr. Mike. Yeah, it's important to say in these days right now. The last but not least, Mr. Mike Potter.
Hello. Yes. So where can you find me these days? Well, with the pandemic, it's been a little bit of a different year, but I've been most active with my annual conference, MacStock Conference. This would have been the 6th year of it. We're currently in a postponed state of affairs, but we did host what I thought was a very successful virtual MacStock. That same weekend, we were supposed to host MacStock 2020 this year. We hosted the very first virtual MacStock. I have a feeling we're going to do at least one more of those before we host in person again. But MacStock is where I'm most active these days. And you can find me at mac.conferenceandexpo.com or at mac.expo on Twitter. And then my podcast is actually going into its 15th year. 15 years I've been doing for Mac Eyes Only, and I've been putting a lot of thought. That's been on a hiatus pretty much this past year. I've been putting a lot of thought into how I'm going to pivot it. So I'm just about ready to put out some information about what I'm going to call for Mac Eyes Only 2.0. I'm not going to call it for Mac Eyes Only 2.0. It's just going to be an evolution of the podcast. And I have some ideas for where I want it to go. And so there's definitely, if folks have been subscribed to it, they've been listening to it, there's definitely more coming. I just had to figure out what I wanted to do with it as it approached its 15th year. So now we're well into the 15th year, so I better figure that out pretty quickly. And that's for MacEyesOnly.com.
Great. Thanks for being here, Mike. Thanks for everything, and happy holidays. And definitely let us know when the evolution is announced. We'll make sure that the Mac Voices listenership knows about it, so they can come over and check you out.
Oh, excellent. That'd be great. Thank you.
Yes. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices. There is probably one more gift guide coming up that will be a little bit different and a little bit special. But until then, and as always, thanks for watching.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.